week, we are doing an exclusive preview of the Brookyln SciFi Film Festival. And now your host, Mike Indeglio. Donut Hole!
What is up, team? Welcome to K&M Geekly. Just a sneak peek at two geeks talking about some of the things getting them through their week. And oh my goodness, do we have a great Geekly for you? Because next week, Keith, the Brookyln SciFi Film Festival launches, and we got to be a part this year. So privileged, so honored. We got to sit on the jury to help elevate some films and filmmakers to hopefully sci-fi glory. And we got to get in there on the ground floor. Keith, let us know how you got us and our nonsense involved in something so much more professional than us.
Truly, we are. If this is going to set your expectation of what the festival is going to be like, no, you're wrong. They're actually professionals, not just like us. But the Brookyln SciFi Festival runs from October 9th through 15 in 2023. That's when we're airing this. It is available in Brooklyn, but also online at BrookylnSciFiFilmFest.com. And I got into this because of my friend Mike Brown, who saw my nerdy background and said, "You look like a nerd. Why don't you come and join the jury on this?" And I feel like, why don't we have Mike join the show? Come on, the executive director of the Brookyln SciFi Film Festival, Mike Brown, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. So first, I want to thank Mike and Keith for joining the jury this year. It's been a blast so far. I'm excited for the festival to kick off, as you said, October 9th through the 15th, and it's going to be available to everybody streaming online. And you're right. It was really, Keith, it was your basement. We were on a Zoom call, and I saw it. I questioned its reality. I thought that it was some kind of fancy backdrop that was too good to be true, but then you proceeded to produce some of the best toys and action figures I've seen. And at that moment, I knew that we had to have you and Mike involved in this project. So yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, nerd. So nerdy, it's almost unbelievable is really the vibe I've always been looking for. So I want to ask you a bunch of questions about the festival and the history of the festival. But before we do that, we have to bring in the jelly to our donut because he's got a hard out. Let us bring in Lee Margolis, who is also a juror on the festival and moderating a panel. Welcome to the show, Lee.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So tell us about your involvement with the Brookyln SciFi Film Festival.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I've known Mike for a long time, and I think he reached out to me even last year. Mike, you were mentioning this to me as well. You're like, maybe it's something we could do. I love movies. I love sci-fi. Grew up in a Star Trek house, the original series, all the good stuff. And yeah, I know. I kind of see it right there. And then, I don't know, Mike said he needed a judge and a panel host for next week. And, all the stars aligned, so to speak. And, we're making it happen. And I honestly am amazed by, I'm sure you are too, like a lot of the entries, there's just some beautiful work these days and really smart stuff.
Oh, it's amazing, right? I was blown away with the quality of the filmmaking this year in the festival.
Yeah, I would say that my experience was I was a little nervous at the top because you have the imposter syndrome where you're like, well, I cannot adjudicate these people. And then as I started watching all the films, I recognized that it was...
You were right.
Yeah, there was no judgment involved at all. It was all about elevating because everything in its own right was excellent. And there was such creativity and whimsy and joy and abject horror in many of the submissions that I thought it was really just a great experience. And I really tried to do my best to just kind of elevate some of the creativity and some of the creators. I hope that was the shared experience amongst all of us.
So Mike, how many films do you have this year?
Oh yeah, we had hundreds of submissions, and it's a really tough choice. We narrowed down to 135 films, which are predominantly short films and some feature films that we're going to be airing on the online platform. And we're able to accommodate 24 of the films in-person events. one of which Lee is going to be the moderator for the Best of Brooklyn on Wednesday night in Greenpoint at Stewart Cinema.
So Brooklyn obviously is a big part of this. Michael, I know that you're in Brooklyn. Lee, are you also in Brooklyn?
Yeah, I'm right around the corner, actually. I'm in Windsor Terrace here.
Yeah, Lee is the poster child of Brooklyn. He is Brooklyn. Just looking at him.
Brooklyn personified.
Actually, the beard is a filter on the... when you see me in person, this is not real.
I mean, we try to corner the market on white guys with dark glasses and beards. So,
and also I just want to shout out for Windsor Terrace for those people who aren't from Brooklyn. It is the donut hole of Brooklyn. It's quite literally the donut hole, and Lee is at its epicenter. I also wanted to mention that Lee comes to us from MoFilm and brings his expertise as a global creative. And as Lee said, we've known each other for quite a while, for a couple of decades, and have collaborated on projects in the past. So it was natural to have him in on the festival.
Wait, did you sneak a professional into this?
I think so. That was a good plug.
It is Brooklyn, so
Yeah, that's fair enough. Fair enough. Well, so Lee, tell us more about the panel that you're going to be moderating, and maybe we even have a trailer for said panel.
Mike, do we have a trailer for that?
We do have a trailer.
Should we roll that beautiful bean footage first?
Let's roll the bean footage, then we'll talk more about it.
All right, let's see if this works.
Oh boy. And I wonder how many of these I've seen.
Yeah, that one.
That one.
Saw that one. Love that one.
These are all New York-based filmmakers. These films shot in Brooklyn.
Nice to fish. I like that.
Thanks.
And the music is by the very talented Joe Livingston, an on-again, off-again Brooklynite. Joe Livingston composed that. It's called Nulio. It's a very sci-fi.
Nice.
Music.
That is the first time I've seen that trailer. I think that's hot off the presses. I could be wrong, but Mike, very good job there.
Very cool. Very cool.
You edited it.
Intro at the theater. So we have other trailers too that Joe is collaborating on the music.
I have to say, there's just so much talent out there now. Not Brooklyn, yes, but beyond. It's really interesting to see it. Not to get too professional on this, but at MoFilm, we sit between a production house and an ad agency, I would say. And we definitely go around finding filmmakers throughout the world for our brands, all about authenticity and creativity. And it was just so much fun to kind of go through this, like you were saying, Mike, how the, you're kind of like just so happy to like support people and that they got something made and put out there in the world. And especially when it's sci-fi, because I love sci-fi. To actually like kind of finish it and put it out there and be, have it be viewed is just such a great feeling.
I think what's really remarkable about it is, of course, getting to the finish line on anything is a remarkable achievement. Certainly Mike and I are in theater, so we understand to actually get it up where there's actually people watching it is really something. But the professionalism of what people are able to put together these days, and part of that is technology and what you're able to do at home these days. But part of it is just like like you said, the enormous amounts of creativity and talent that are displayed here. I couldn't believe it. I mean, look, I was able to finish, my 7-minute Star Trek film that I shot in my basement with my little brother when I was 11, where we played all of the parts on a VHS camcorder. But
I would like to see that. Is that floating around?
It is available on our YouTube channel. You can check it out.
Is there a donut involved at any point?
Well, you know what? I went and remastered it. I George Lucased it and ruined it later. So maybe I'll just do it again and throw another donut in there. So,
part of it that's cool about all this is I have 2 sons, and I've been sharing some of the stuff that I was asked to judge, and they're like, and it's multi-generational. They're like, oh, I love this one about the grandparents being interviewed and talking about seeing aliens in Utah or wherever. and it was like, right, it was Texas or Utah, and it
Mexico,
just
I think.
the kind of like natural connection between generations is pretty cool.
That brings up a good point. I'll ask is, I one of the kind of judging criteria here is that it's kind of done on a bell curve, right? So you take into account, Mike asked to take into account the budget, the amount of creators involved, the level of education or the level of experience, and that actually really honed in the experience of watching, because you really had to boil it down to what are they going for? Did they execute the plan they were going for? What are the sci-fi elements, and what is their twist? What is their take? And I actually had two categories that were shorts, right? An animated short and then the comedy short. And I found that, I think we all agree that feature film gets a lot of the praise and the focus, but man, short films, there's a lot you have to accomplish in a short period of time. So you really have to cut the fat and get down to what your ideas are and focus on the ideas. And that was really a cool experience. And there's so many awesome ideas in the festival this year, and it's just the few stuff that I got to see. So I was wondering if anything jumped out to you guys.
Animation too, because animation, you have to plan for that, right? Like there's just so much technical stuff that you want to get right, and if you go down a path that's a mistake, then it's like, oh my god, I put so much time into making that thing.
And stop motion this year. I saw a few stop motion films.
I love the stop motion. I was like, wow.
That Kurosawa stop motion kind of thing. I don't know if you saw that. That blew my mind. Blew my mind.
Yeah. That was Innermost, I believe, a film from China. There also, I just have to jump in on this because stop motion is incredible. Dark Odyssey, and that's a New York filmmaker, Mike Levine, and watch that one, and the amount of work that goes into that is incredible.
That's the one with the woman, and she's taking on all these, like, it almost has like a Wild West setting to it, right? I'm trying to think. The one I saw that was stop motion, just like I couldn't believe the amount of detail work.
Yeah, well, there are several incredible stop motion. Innermost, the one from China, that's that more Kurosawa, I think, that has like a lot of combat fighting. Dark Odyssey is literally like a dark, very dark stop motion of it's part of a trilogy, and this is the second year. And Mike Levine won Best of Brookyln with the last chapter.
Oh, he's the musician, right?
He is a photographer.
Yes.
He was traditionally a photographer. Photographed, I think, Kurt Cobain, like for the last several decades, every famous musician out there. And during the pandemic, he decided to he locked down and work on stop motion. So he's one of the incredible filmmakers. Innermost is getting a lot of attention. That's another one that I recommend. And there are several others in stop motion category.
So what's the selection process like, Mike? I mean, in how do people submit their entries? How do you make that determination as to what you want to feature year to year?
Sure. It's a tough choice. We get several hundred submissions. We have a pretty long submission period, and we use a platform called Film Freeway, which is very common for festivals. And we try to make it as easy as possible, so we attract an international audience, and we pull in films according to different categories. Young filmmakers, so if you're K through 12, you can submit a film, and student films, which are those involved in university or college programs. And then categories that are pretty open, but like live action, animation, which may be people that are first-time filmmakers or industry professionals. And that's where, kind of like viewing it on a curve becomes important. You want to know the story of who this person is, what they're doing, and what the story is that they're trying to tell. So then we look through, and we just, it's just as you're saying, I'm just blown away by anybody who has the courage and determination to really put themselves out there and craft these stories. And it doesn't take a big budget to really pull somebody in. And that's what's incredible. And so from the start of the festival in 2020, this is our fourth season, we wanted to be like a Big Tent. we did not want to be a gatekeeper. We do some curation, but we want to create like a community where people can go on a Netflix kind of environment and really let people watch whatever they want and make those decisions. And so we do have part of the selection process is we partner with the New York Sci-Fi Book Club, headed up by John Nutting, who's a juror and also a co-founder in the festival. So they have a large group of total sci-fi head like fans, and they go through and they do all the initial screening. Is it sci-fi? Does it meet like a certain quality criteria where you can discern what the story is? And are they in the right category? So they do a lot of the legwork to set that up. And that's before then the selections. We look at scores from the screeners, and it goes to the juror of different industry professionals like Lee and Mike and Keith, and a lot more filmmakers. And
I love that you framed it as a big tent, because there was a ton of different kind of approaches to sci-fi in the 15 or so films that I reviewed last week. It was really interesting to see that. And I agree with you. When I saw the live action stuff to begin with, I was like, okay, I see where we're going with it. And then suddenly it slipped into the animation, and it was just so. I went back to. I don't know if you guys did this, but I went back to the first one. I watched them all, and before I even judged, I'm like, you know what? I got to go back and review that other one. Context was good to see against each other, because it was just such an amazing range.
Yeah, I did the exact same thing, because I needed to like calibrate my ratings again with a wider scope. And what I found in that process was realizing like, oh, it's better than I thought. So I had to sort of skew in the opposite direction that I expected to, because it was just universally just at a higher level than I expected. And I think two things based on what you said there. One, mentioning the student films, because that was one of the ones that I adjudicated. First off, if these are the kids coming forward, we are in good hands, because I expected something closer to what I created. And I'm like, oh no, these are fantastic.
Is it the technology, or is it the people are just ready? They're capable, or is it a combination of things?
The answer is yes. Every single element of that was better than I ever expected it to be.
The writing's good too. Some of these great. I would be happy if they were just audio or a short story.
Well, and that's the other thing you were talking about, the differences in the budgets, right? My favorite film of the entire festival that I have seen thus far didn't have the huge sci-fi budget, right? Didn't have like the crazy amazing effects that they were able to do. They did what they could do, but the storytelling, it was an international film, right? And the storytelling, the acting, the heart, and the story, it was so good. I couldn't have cared less how great the alien looked, because I was so enraptured by the story. We'll figure that out when they turn it into a feature. I don't care, because it's really about the craft beyond just the special effects. And I thought that's really where it was elevated for me. I was very excited to see that.
Yeah, there was a short, and I don't know spoilers here. And Mike, maybe you can remember what the title is, but it was all shot pretty close up. This alien in a ship, and it's got all his doodads. It was clearly really low budget, but they kind of highlighted the low budget nature of it by really creative ideas to create the kind of innards of a ship technology. And then the alien exits the ship in this sandy planet, and there's a twist ending, I guess, for lack of better terms.
I love that one so much.
Too.
Yeah.
There's a little Twilight Zone-ish kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's very much what we said. It's like they started with a concept. Here's where I want to get to, and then it's just about creating. And it was 2 minutes. It's a 2-minute film, and it was a complete film, beginning, middle, end. Really specific story. So the budgets being used very specifically and very resourcefully. I think just some great stuff. And then there was, of course, some bigger budget films that were in sometimes more effective and sometimes not as effective. So it really was a masterclass in trimming the fat and knowing what your idea is.
It's a lesson in creativity, right? Execute what you can execute. and do that incredibly well. And if the minute you step a foot past what you can execute, you're lost. And I think that the sort of, that comes down to sort of like, it's not taste, but it's sort of artistic intelligence to make sure that you don't attempt anything you can't execute, but what you can do, crush it.
I watched that like 4 times over, by the way, like once I knew the ending, because I wanted to see if there was any additional clues. And they played it so dryly, and so they, like it was everything you said, Mike. Like they executed it in a way where it's just like, I want you to believe this so desperately. And I was looking at the wide shots too initially to see what was going on there. I was really trying to study it from a technical, because it was great storytelling, like you're saying, Keith. It did a very good job with that. But and the other thing I'll say about that one that I thought was really unique too is like it was meant to be a film. Like I think it would have worked fine in other forms, but it was really such a visual thing, and it felt like it could have been, this is not a knock, but it would have been a funny commercial or a funny whatever you wanted to do with it. Because it just. Oh my God, I love that one. I'm going to go watch it again after this. It made my day.
I get excited and I want to watch all the films again. I did want to say that a lot of the best films can be 1 or 2 people sitting in a room. And that's what I think is really important about sci-fi. It's all about the storytelling. And if I go back to last year, 3 of my favorite films involved no special effects. One was a feature film, is my favorite, and I recommend going and finding this film. It's called First Time Caller. It's all about this podcaster. Is he like this, who's kind of like, I'll say he seems to be like right-wing conservative podcaster. And the story unfolds, and it's riveting. It's like an old style radio play, but the way that they intercut and everything, but there are no special effects. There are no extra characters, and it's all dialogue. And that was great. There was another one where the 2 actors, this was from last year's, were just at a table discussing a concept, and it was so entertaining. And something we haven't touched on, because I don't think that you guys were involved with this. There's also the comedy genre.
Yes, I had the comedy as well. Yeah.
Oh, you guys have the comedy. So there is one of the films is that that I wanted to call attention to, that I'm thrilled that we're going to show it at one of the in-person events. It's labeled as comedy, but it is like grim.
Oh, I know exactly which one we're talking about.
Yep.
And it's just like, and it's the credits come up, and there's one thing happened, and it's just, I'll use my keyboard. It's like mic drop, and it makes the film hilarious. And it's very dark. It's a film from Russia, actually, and I think it's maybe that's the dark humor aspect of it. But that's another one.
That was one of my my picks for a top prize, and I'll tell you why. Because I think we all would agree we're kind of bum rushed by sci-fi and fantasy content right now, and you get a lot of the samesies feels, because at some point there's so much things become derivative. And what I learned, what that film did was it had a steampunk cyberpunk vibe. It had a lot of ideas and imagery that evoked other IP or other sci-fi elements. However, it had a very distinct take on its technology, a very distinct use of what its fingerprint in the sci-fi world would be, and it kind of made its on. And also the performances were incredible. Sitting down with the grandma in the beginning, the whole opening is like, that first act is a masterpiece. I think it just shows that even in this influx of content and stuff, you can still make your mark, your fingerprint in the sci-fi genre. And I thought that was really cool from that film and many others.
And I think it's
called, I just want to call it out, Old Men Rule.
Yes.
And Old Men is one word, and I'm not sure if that was a translation thing, but I would say that's a film to look out for.
Oh, for sure. And I think it highlights both from the sci-fi thing where we're talking about budget, and with comedy as well. For me, sci-fi is about ideas. It's about concepts. It's about exploring, it's exploring our world and our ideas through a sci-fi lens, because it takes you outside of it. And it's not about budget. It's like if the pew pews and the spaceships enhance the idea that you're exploring, great. If you don't need that, you don't need that. If your idea is sound, if your idea is thought-provoking enough, and then it doesn't really matter. And that's what's great about a festival like this, is that you can have the giant space opera, whatever, or like you said with the radio, the talk show thing, focus on a little idea, twist it in a sci-fi way, and it is every bit as much sci-fi as Blade Runner. And it's
I love that we're getting into that other space too, because there is so much content out there, and now you're talking about these very specific things. I always find myself, when I'm kind of sucked into a series, there's like always 5 episodes that are just like, oh my God, they felt they had to fill it with something.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's like the 5 episodes that are great. Whereas this was like this, like each one of these were these compact, wonderful beginning, middle, and end things. There was no sequel let off at the end or anything like that. Or oh my God, I just wasted an hour and it didn't do anything because they had to fill this thing
or connect it to some other universe to put it
yeah,
all together.
I don't need any universe. No more universe building. I'm good.
You know what? There's no space for in a short, a donut hole.
Yeah, that's true. It's all donut. It's all donut.
There's no space. It all has to be the donut.
Let's drop that back home. I will never. If I bump into you on the street or something, we're gonna go get donuts.
We definitely. We all need donuts right now. We should all leave immediately and go get some
Let
donuts.
me ask you, let's drop this other trailer you had sent before, Lee, you have to take off. Does anybody want to pitch it, what it is? Because I didn't read the email.
I'll just set that up. So if you're wondering why I have these computers here, we're going to be featuring a film called Computer Chess that first came out in 2013. So as part of the 2023 10th year anniversary, the film deals with concepts of emerging AI in an undetermined period. It's like late 70s, maybe early 80s, computers not unlike these. And it deals with these AI topics. So for the 10th anniversary, they decided to let AI make the trailer, just kind of go off on its own and come up with whatever it would. And they were, I think, horrified by the results.
Oh, I can't wait.
How very prescient.
I definitely, if you set something up, this is going to be horrifying. I'm excited. I'm in.
Prometheus.
Oh, no.
Prometheus.
In a world dominated by technology, controlled by the master of what was once called the Game of Kings,
Prometheus.
Oh. Ooh.
they call it Prometheus.
What's it called?
Prometheus. An artificial intelligence created to conquer the ancient game of chess. It became too intelligent, and the world became its chessboard.
Allied has changed the game with Prometheus. We have taken a glimpse over the horizon and nothing is there.
The only thing that has changed is that nothing is left to lose.
Difficulties increase the nearer we get to the goal.
Prometheus.
In the film, it's not called
In the
Prometheus.
boundless tapestry of creation, the game is eternal, and it has become a game of survival.
Prometheus.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Prometheus.
These are just made-up AI
Who can
characters.
think like the enemy?
I mean, I would watch this movie.
Prometheus.
It actually brings up a
Computer chess.
an interesting conversation because Photoshop just released their sort of widespread AI generative fill, and a lot of tools, and the WGA, everybody's fighting over getting AI in check. And I noticed that AI was actually a pretty consistent theme in a lot of the films this year. Mike, what's your take on the overlords coming after us?
Well, not only that, we had one film that will be showing at Best of Brookyln called The Green Planet, which is completely 100% AI generated. And it's got a cool vibe to it. And then there is another animated film that I know Lee likes quite a bit. A tree. What was it?
Amazing.
And that is the filmmaker took us through the process of, and that's partially, it's a really mixed medium, but he used
that
AI.
Crossover is important. The blend of kind of human touch with AI compared to letting the AI do it. We do a lot of we're MoFilm, but we have this thing called Mo Labs, and about once a month we invite our community of filmmakers to watch a demo from voiceover AI programs to Mid-Journey people to, I'm sure you've seen Runway, which some of this looks like it was being used, and obviously done right, it can help folks, and I think some of the Photoshop tools are cool, but trying to find that balance, I think, is super important. That one film, Mike, was just gorgeous, and use the AI stuff to the right level.
Right, and I think that's what AI opens up a lot of opportunities to work as an assistant and not necessarily take the lead. And it is, I was at South by Southwest Creative Expo last year, and we spoke to a lot of we spoke to Adobe and a lot of the people behind the AI technology. And it really can be an effective tool when wielded properly by a creative director, and it can fill in backgrounds. It can do a lot of things, but if you let it take the lead, as we saw in the computer
the fingers,
very bizarre.
Nightmares.
It's like it opens up new doorways, but I think that we're not at a point, at least this year, where you can turn over the reins and expect great creative results. I think my greatest AI fear is in my 30 years as a technologist working in different industries, I have seen that the best does not win out. It's the lowest cost, and often in that format. So when I worked in digital imaging, there was processing film versus digital. Digital will never win out, but digital quickly won out before it was even a better technology, and it's just down the line. So there is a future where really crappy, trite content is cranked out, and people, next generation doesn't know much better, consumes this crap on Netflix and Hulu.
Humans have been creating that crap for forever.
That's our job.
Now it'll just be free. I've been trying to sell out my entire career just so I can create that crap, but now it's not necessary.
That's one thing I've seen on doing the festival and watching, like 1,000 films, is when you think, you're watching stuff, not in the festival, but when I'm watching on Hulu and all, there's things I love, and there are things that I'm like, take this off my list and never show it to me again. And you start to think that the world's running out of ideas. And then you see these independent filmmakers. And yes, there are a lot of themes that can be very trite, but they're not. It's like people can come up with, it might not be commercial because they're not like Lee, like you said, they're not trying to put in 5 filler episodes. They're doing an 8-minute film that's a mic drop, and that's it. Mm-hmm. There's no sequels or anything, but it's incredible. So when you take some of this, you tap into the artist and the creative capabilities with that, and you really see new stories being generated.
And I find that a lot at work. I mean, that's a lot of our clients are looking for genuine artists behind whether they're using tools, and which is all sorts of stuff, like whether it's AI or not. And I think that they do want I think it's important to have an authentic point of view. I think these days there's just so much false, junk out there, and the stuff that, yes, you do get inundated with that. But like you're saying, Mike, every now and then something really, is done really well, and it was, well thought through, and that stuff's exciting, and that's the stuff that makes it more interesting and gives you hope,
Keith, real quick, I'm gonna, because it's kind of in your wheelhouse, is another thing that stood out to me in a lot of these films is something that we usually take for granted, and that's sound design. A couple of the films I watched had original songs, which really pop in a festival with a lot of AI generated music or kind of stock music, but also just a score. Scoring can be the glue and can elevate a film from just something that feels unfinished to that next level of quality. And it can really, and some of the best work I saw this in the films I watched, where the score itself was telling a story alongside the narrative, and when those two things can come together, it's really wonderful. Keith, what did you think about any of the music you heard?
No, I mean, I sort of like you said, like, you can tell when it is, specifically tied to the storytelling, and you can tell when it's sort of vibe setting. And, I think with AI, because it's coming for music as well, right? It's coming for everything. I think we're probably headed to an era where human generated art is like organic vegetables. Like, it gets labeled, this is human created, just pay a little extra for it, and it spoils more quickly. But it's
couldn't
organic.
agree more. I then I got a hop, but I've been thinking about that a lot because we use like filmmakers and authentic stories and points of view, and I really do feel like there's going to be this whole phase of just like a real person, like it's going to be labeled that, and I think and I think people are going to be drawn or interested in that to a point. I think there's going to be like, like a mid-level thing there, but like, I feel like there's going to be this great phase of like, yep, real humans generated this to a, I think it's interesting to think about it that way for sure.
Well, it's like human content is going to become like opera or classical music, where it's sort of like it's a relic, but it's great. And if you really want to seek it out, it's really special in its own way. You can create it like an AI burger, but you can't get that souffle that's human.
I can't believe you didn't say an AI donut. I'm gonna go on Midjourney right now. I have loved this conversation. I wish I didn't have to drop off. Mike Brown, I'm so excited to be there with you next week. I mean, it's just so much fun to be a part of this.
Yeah, and pitch that panel again. Pitch that panel you're doing.
Oh, Mike, you got to do it. Mike's so much better at the pitching part.
It's a great panel. I'm so excited and can't believe we didn't think about it in previous years. We've had this concept of Best of Brooklyn, which are not necessarily Brooklyn filmmakers. We extend it kind of like the tri-state area. A lot of the films have an association with the 5 boroughs.
Brooklyn.
And so
wait, did you just pick me because I have a beard? Is that why you did that?
No, I know, you being from MoFilm, you work with a lot of local filmmakers, and I thought it would be great. So we're going to show 12 New York-based films, and 10 of the filmmakers out of the 12 are able to be here. And we're going to do a little panel afterwards. I don't know what it's going to be, where it'll go, but we're going to be celebrating Brooklyn-made and New York-made films, and Lee's going to help moderate that conversation.
Well, thanks you so much for coming, Lee. This was a real pleasure. It's lovely to meet you. We'll get a donut in real life sometime in Brooklyn.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
All right. So, I mean, I should point out that both Mike and I did live in Brooklyn for a while.
Yeah, together.
I was there for 5 years. That's right. We were roommates for a hot second there. So, near you, Mike, because you're in Park Slope, yeah?
Yeah, we're in Windsor Terrace. I'm the same place as, well, some people try to stretch it and call it South Slope, but
South Slope.
We
were North Slope in Prospect Heights.
Yeah.
I think that I remember hearing some kind of trivia that during World War II that some high number of, like, I don't know if it was 1 out of 4 or 1 out of 10 of the soldiers, the GIs, were from Brooklyn. So everybody passes through Brooklyn. It's almost like I find the same thing, oddly enough, about Texas. Like everybody, a high percentage of people I meet in New York came from Texas or are back in Texas. The filmmaker from Computer Chess is in Austin. So, but Brooklyn, some people have lived in Brooklyn or passed through at some point. So I think it has a widespread.
I mean, when we did it, it was back when it was cheap. Now everyone's dog can buy and sell us when we walk back in our old neighborhood. But
that's New York now. Mike, what's the distinction? Because I'm curious, because I will be in town next week for a day or two. What is the virtual experience of the festival versus the in-person in Brooklyn?
Oh, such a professional question, Mike.
Yeah, so it's a good question. We have these 2 in-person events. Wednesday, the 11th, is the Best of Brooklyn, and that's in Greenpoint, Brooklyn, at Stewart Cinema. And those will be live screenings where you can actually enjoy the films with the group and then meet the filmmakers. And then on Saturday at Alamo Draft House in Brooklyn, we're going to have 12 of the finalist films. And once again, filmmakers are going to be coming in, and we're going to present, or we have this thing at the festival. It's a video sequence by Biffy the robot. He's a Brookyln SciFi robot. Actually presents the awards on screen, and so Biffy will do that segment. We'll do the awards presentation, followed by an after party at the House of Wax bar that's right there at Alamo. So I would highly recommend, even if you can't. Good. I think the tickets are selling out, so there might be a few tickets left for Alamo, but I'm not even sure about that. You can still hang out, get some merch, and have drinks with the filmmakers. I know that we have the director from an Italian film, Connected, except it has an Italian name that I can't pronounce, Canesi or something.
That was a fun one. That was a fun movie.
Yeah, it's going to be showing, so he'll be there. He's flying in from Italy. We have 2 filmmakers from, I think, Atlanta, Georgia, for this excellent film, Tell Him. Really great film. They're coming in a number from all over. So it's going to be a really great event. And then online, you get all of that. We're not doing any kind of live streaming. It's more, like I said, it's like a Netflix style where you can watch on demand at your convenience anything you want, all of the content, including the films in theaters, but also where we're programming content, we'll recreate that, and we'll have each night has an event. So, and not all of those are live events. So on Tuesday, the 10th, we'll have animation exploration, where we sit down with 10 animators. And we teamed up with Women in Animation, which is a great organization. They moderated the panel. So we'll have the panel, and it'll be followed by a whole night of what we in the industry call a linear feed. So it's for the kids who don't know that, it's the way we used to watch TV, where you sit and watch what's presented in front of you.
Yeah, what?
And, yeah.
Never heard of it.
Oh, yeah. So instead, that'll be different than the on-demand. We're going to, as I mentioned, we'll have computer chess on Friday. We'll probably do midnight features for experimental films. We'll have panels online. We also online, we do, you have an opportunity to upvote films. So we'll have a People's Choice Award, which I love. And instead of the jurors who may be flawed, or
what? How dare you?
Really stuffy. The people, it's a festival of the people, and they get to pick. We also do a curated series called The Sixth Borough, and we release an episode each night of the festival. And it's kind of like an indie Black Mirror, where we do these 3 dystopian stories bundled together. And it's really fun watching. They drop, I think, at 7 o'clock each evening. So we'll introduce the filmmakers online as far as in the program guide. So that's a lot of fun as well. So
now we're going to link to the website in the description here on YouTube, but tell us where we can find all of this again.
Oh yeah, it's Brookyln SciFi Film Fest.com. And so you go to the website, and we have, for the online events, there's links to descriptions and to purchase tickets. And then you can purchase an online pass. It's a donation that helps support, and you'll be able to watch. We'll kick everything off in the afternoon of October 9th.
All right. Well, this is super exciting. Is there anything else you want to highlight about this, about your thought process behind it, or hey, you know what? Better question. What made you decide to do a film festival?
That's a good question. I work on the technology side. I have a tech company called Logic CMX, and we develop a platform for streaming video. And we work with a lot of independent film companies and festivals. And I think in 2019, I was at a bar with a bunch of my friends. I think Lee might have been there. And I said, we're going to do a film festival. I've decided we're going to do a film festival because we love sci-fi, we love film, and we've got the platform. So why not do this? And we had no idea what we were doing. It got really hard very fast. And then the pandemic happened, and we were going to do like in theater. And my dog's barking. I think the mail is here. I don't know if you can hear that. But anyways, so we quickly adjusted to online that year, and it was kind of a lifesaver because we really were not ready to put on a festival with just that 1 year lead time. But then 2021, we had a little bit of experience. Now I feel like we're starting to figure things out, and I look forward to the coming years.
That's really fun. Talk about like an ambitious thing, just like, oh, I'm going to start a film festival, just out of nowhere.
Well, it's the kind of thing that you can do when you've been drinking and
I think you just explained our entire enterprise with Mike at K&M.
and you're in Brooklyn, and you have really very, very talented friends that will support you in this endeavor. I don't have a couple of the founding partners. Everybody's going a different direction. But Vincent Keene, who is our creative director, I think he's headed to Boston right now as we speak, so he couldn't join. But he's an active part of the festival and will be at the live events. And Gerald Miller is also a co-founder. He's down in one of my Texas buddies, and he was not able to make it as well. But a lot of people are behind it.
Well, it's very exciting. I'm very happy to have been a part of it. Very honored to be a juror, flawed though we are. Okay, I'm kidding. So this was really fun. So check out the Brookyln SciFi Film Festival, October 9th through 15th at brooklynscififilmfest.com. Live events if you are in Brooklyn. Definitely check it out. Seriously, go on there. Check out some of these films. It is, I say this as a sci-fi nerd, as someone who cares very much about the art form, and as an independent artist and creator. This is my life. This is what I care about a great deal. It is really exciting to see that creativity and ingenuity and thought-provoking and thoughtful work is being generated right and left.
I'll add to that, Keith, quickly that, if you feel even remotely like I do with a little bit of just general fatigue when it comes to the amount of stuff you have to choose to watch, this is an inspirational moment. And I think watching a lot of these films from all over the world, international creators at different levels with just inspiring and creative work, reminds you why you love sci-fi, reminds you why we appreciate creativity, and it gives you an opportunity to support grassroots individuals, people's coming up at different levels, trying to get their work seen. So be a part of it. So excited that we could be.
Yeah, they deserve our attention and support. They're doing really good work. So, and as are you, Mike, and Vin, and the whole team with the Brookyln SciFi Film Festival. Thank you for doing this. Us sci-fi nerds and artists and creators appreciate people willing to put in this tremendous amount of effort to showcase some of this stuff. You can also get merch, right? You have merch.
Oh, yeah, we have. It's on the website.
Yeah. So go get yourself a T-shirt. Be the cool kids. Get a T-shirt and a donut. I think
get a beanie, like we got the alien beanie or whatever, and you can sit there and stream it online. I do want to put in an extra pitch to any of potential filmmakers, storytellers out there. You have 1 year from now to make a film and get it to us. So go, starting now. And also something we didn't talk about. We do have some fan films. We had 3 Star Wars related ones. And Keith, we had a conversation. Where are the Star Trek fan films? We welcome them. I know they're out there. We're getting Star Wars every year, So we got to get the word out to the Star Trek fans. And
yes. Well, I mean, our audience is mainly Star Trek people. So people making Star Trek fan films, submit to the 2024 festival. I mean, come on, get it up on the big screen. Really, really cool.
If we get enough of them, then we can have a panel.
That's true.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. Well, Mike, take us away, buddy.
All right. Well, folks, listen, no matter what you watch or do this week, keep on watching the things you find fun. Don't let anybody else yuck your yum. And until next time, check out the Brookyln SciFi Festival and keep on geeking on.